We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We do apologize for all the technical difficulties. There was a lobby crash, but we're back in the lobby, and hopefully everything should get underway shortly, and we'll get back under racing conditions. I do apologize for all of the technical difficulties that have arrived. Unfortunately, we did have a driver disconnect, and that usually, in fact, it does always lead in a lobby crash. Hopefully that does not happen today, and we can have a hell of a race. But if you don't start on the correct tire in the top 10, you're going to get hella penalties, as ISRL Knight definitely equivalated in the Discord. I'm making up some very fancy words here to try to sound a lot better. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, session is starting now.
Yep, just about ready to load in and kick things off for real this time. For 22 laps around Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. And for those of you who are just tuning in, don't worry, we're not doing full qualifying again. That's already done, dusted in the past. We're just going to jump straight into the race, I believe, here as soon as all the drivers load into the lobby. And we can basically kick things off in just a few moments now for the race. And as we're waiting, I'm really excited. As I said before in the last stream, I'll say it again. I'm excited to see what the race is going to bring, and I'm curious to see how this restart is going to affect things, just in terms of maybe throw in some drivers for a bit of a curveball who were just so in and focused into the race, maybe getting taken out of it, or maybe some drivers re-getting this focus with this take two now. But we'll see in just a few moments, as we're just taking two now to get the strategy sorted out and get things started for the start of the race.
All right, guys. So, all I know is Sweet Crown is not going to be happy if there's no formation lap, because if you don't know, Sweet Crown ain't good on race starts if we don't have the formation lap. I don't know why, but I think we should do that just to spice things up.
Yeah, just likes his potentially really enjoys his tires at a specific temperature range for the start of the race, which he can achieve on the formation laps. Maybe not as much on these straight race starts without the formation lap. But I'm actually unsure if we're going to get it or not, given that we just recently had it on the previous stream. So I don't know if we're going to want to double up with that, or if we're just going to want to kick things off. But we'll find out in a few moments if that is the case, as I didn't quite get to see on the options if we're going to have that or not. But I'm kind of hoping we just jump straight into the race, because I'm excited to see some action, see some overtakes, see some passes. See some wheel-to-wheel racing around Spa. But
we're just waiting for everybody to load in, and we'll wait for the first actual person to get set. I believe it's Knight who has to start everything up.
Yep, I believe so as well. So we're just going to have to wait until we get that okay to kick things off. It should be in just a few moments now, I think. Just letting everybody get into that right mindset for the race, especially after the restart, where, as I was saying, it's sometimes can be difficult to get back into that mindset. But there we go. We've got the timer, we've got the okay, and we're going to be going racing soon here around Spa.
So let's get set for action, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to get straight and ready. If we do, in fact, don't have a formation lap, I'm kind of hoping we don't, just because I want to see a different result. But yeah, that's the schematics. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get set for the session to start. 3, 2, 1, 0, and let's see what the it's gonna be. If we're gonna get a formation lap again, we're just waiting. Josh 2 loads in, and it is going to be back with the formation lap. So, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a realistic pit stop strategy this time. It's soft to mediums and soft to hards. It took one restart on the lobby to get a good strategy going on. Of course, Amazon Web Services providing those F1 insights. Colin is on pole position, though, with no time, because that session didn't matter. So he's on pole position based on merit anyway. Sweet Crown 19's there because he's always there. FRL Chappelle and Rotation, they have the the Alfa Romeo spots, which looks really nice on the second row of the grid. Jer is in 5th place, a few positions behind Sweet Crown 19, as per usual. Do Will, this is going to be a roast fest now. Do Will is actually 6th on the grid. That's really impressive, though. Isaac Kush is 7th on the grid, though, and he didn't retire and get out of Q1 as usual, so he's up in 7th position. Josh 2 is the highest up Ferrari in 8th position, and Feral Fury all the way down in 9th position, and Jamian is going to round off the top 10. VR Yarno is 11th fastest. ISRL Lewis down in 12th. Knight is down in 13th. Pretzels in 14th. Sophion in 15th. Nip Steven in 16th. Gurman in 17th. And Andon is in 18th.
Yep, so for those of you who are in for both streams, you might have noticed down to 18 drivers now as Aizen was having a little bit of connection issues, so will not be joining us here on the restart. But still, it's going to be an exciting race either way, I think, as the drivers are coming around the formation lap once again for the second time now around Spa and getting ready to start up on the race. Looking at the tire strategies, thankfully everybody respected the tire regulations and are starting on the same tires they had last time, at least from what I can see here with the or at least with the tire choices. So Colin, Chappelle, Isaac Kush, Josh 2, and I can even throw VR and Lewis in there, all on the medium tires. So can potentially make an impact come the pit stop time for these soft tire runners. But now the question as we're lining up the grid, will Sweet Crown 19 be able to take the lead or going into turn 1, or will Colin hold it off and create a gap of his own, or will we see the likes of Jer or even one of the the Alfa Romeos make a push for the lead of the race early on? But as the drivers are lining up now, I'll let you take over for the 5 red lights and the first few laps.
Let's get set for action here, ladies and gentlemen. We've jumped back to lap 2 again. We are back under racing now. We're getting ready for the 5 red lights. It is 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and away we go, and Colin seems to get a good start, but Sweet Crown 19 is going to come alongside him, and now on the inside into turn number 1, and who is that? That looks to be Chappelle, who has gone on the inside, and Sweet Crown 19 has taken the lead of the Belgium Grand Prix. Colin down to 3rd, Chappelle up into 2nd position. A great start by the Alfa Romeo, and gets himself up a spot, but now we see Colin, who's going to be trying to challenge back now looks to be on the outside, going down the Kemmel Straight, and then go alongside him. Now he's got Jer behind him as well. Side by side on the inside is Chappelle, and Colin down to back to 3rd, and Jer right behind him. Duo in 5th position as the adjustment on the leaderboard has back and come. And look at Josh Dewey, who's looking on the outside. He gets hit from behind, and that looked to be Isaac Kush, who has had some contact with a driver, and he's got major front wing damage on the car there, it looks like. And he hit the back of the Ferrari, and now on the inside is ISRL Gurman, who's going to take the inside line and make an overtake up into 11th position. And this has not been the start for Isaac Kush he would like. He outbroke himself and rammed right into the Ferrari, and so Fionn has had an amazing start up into 10th position. Josh 2 and 8th, a great start for the Ferraris. That's what they needed in this race, but nonetheless it has been an absolute cracker start for everybody. But it's Sweet Crown 19 who's gotten the good start, 1.1 seconds ahead of Chappelle on lap number 1.
Yep, so fantastic start from Sweet Crown 19 and Chappelle moving up 1 position each up into 1st and 2nd. Not the start Colin was hoping for, falling down into 3rd, but Jer had a good start going up into 4th. Now I want to say Gernman had a really good start going up 6 positions up into 11th, but unfortunately for the Red Bull team, it looks like there was a bit of a position swap as Knight had a bit of an incident on lap 1 down into 17th, and Pretzels as well also had an incident as he's down at the bottom of the grid, and they both have a lot of work to cut out for them early on in this race.
Isaac Kush has put it in. Now we have a challenge from Jer, who's going to go alongside Colin down the Kemmel straight, still side by side of him, and now on the inside, Jared will have the inside line, and he's going to make the position and get ahead of Colin, who now moves down to 4th position in this race, and now he's going to be under pressure from Duwil, who is still in this fight right now in P6, and this has been the great start for Duwil. It's been a terrible start for Colin, now down to P4. Again, there's your predicted pit stop strategy. The soft tire is going to last about 8 laps, and both the mediums and hards they think can go till the end. We'll have to wait and see if anybody actually adventures onto the medium all the way till the end of the race. It's going to be very tough to do that, but we'll have to wait and see. But we're on lap number 2. Sweetcar 19 now 1.3 seconds ahead. It's going to be lap 3, and he's already outside of DRS range. This is exactly what you need to do on a track like this. I'm going to go right on board of ISRL Lewis. He's right behind Feral Fury, and he's going to be in the slipstream right now, using some overtake and trying to get ahead of Feral Fury right back in the slipstream. We'll see if he can get close to him on the bus stop chicane and maybe make a little last lap plunge and go into the 7th position slot.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Lewis can do in that battle, as this might have a little bit of constructors implications too, especially with the 2 Ferraris of Josh 2 and Sophion right behind him, and Lewis's teammate Isat not having the start he was hoping for all the way down at the bottom of the grid. So definitely, like I said, constructor implications, and Lewis is gonna have to watch out behind him and not get too, I guess, too angsty looking at getting that overtake done on Feral Fury. But still, solid start from Sweetcar 19, and the gap is already growing now to Chappelle, up to 1.2, nearly 1.3 seconds. But Chappelle's got to watch out as Jer is closing up right up close to him, down to 2/10, and we might see an overtake sooner rather than later if Chappelle's not careful.
We also saw an overtake right there. Jamian has gone up in the 12th position ahead of Yarna with some DRS and some ERS, I would imagine. And he's up into 12th position. Let's get the track map and the track data up for you. And let's see what everybody's setting times are now. In fact, actually, no. Let's get the lap data off. We don't really need to see the times.
Oh, no. And Gurman's in the wall. Gurman had a bit of a tough exit going down that downhill right-hander. And that's Gurman falling all the way down to 17th, so not what he was hoping for after a really good start that brought him up into nearly into the top 10.
So in 17th position and going really wide and almost into the wall right there, Isaac Kush is now catching back up to him. But Gurman has some major problems, some major front wing damage, and now Knight, the first Red Bull driver to pick up a penalty right now in the session. Not the start he would like. He's right behind Nip Steven, and this is a really close battle. He's going to have to make a move somewhere. Is it going to be around the outside onto the grass? And still on the inside now, about to come into the bus stop chicane, and this would be a move of the year if it happens, and he does make it happen. Then the switchback again from the Renault driver. Nip Steven still side by side with Knight as they're going to come across the line right now. This is the battle for the final point scoring position right now. Well, actually P14, so a point up from that. And now Knight on the inside. And what a move from Knight to make it into 14th position. Nip Stevens still in the slipstream though, coming up Rouge into Radion.
Oh.
This is going to be a this is going to be so very close. Almost on the inside into Radion. Now onto the Camel straight with DRS, with some ERS, and this should be an easy overtake for him. ISRL Knight will try to slot on the inside, and he makes a dive on the inside. Still trying to keep close to it. Nip Steven.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but right up ahead of those two battles, we had Andon and VR battling it out, going side by side, basically through entirety of Sector 1, but a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact meant Andon lost control of the car and ended up actually into the wall. I don't think VR really was at fault or anything there. I think it was just a racing incident where, unfortunately for Andon, he just got the worst of it.
So some major battles already going on here in Belgium, which usually gets claimed to be a bit of a DRS train in some cases. Not the case today. ISRL Lewis right now still pressurizing Feral Fury in this race. Gurman has a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings, really catching up with some overtake now on Feral Fury. He's going to make a move on the outside into the bus stop chicane. Feral Fury closes the door on that occasion. Not going to happen here. A little bit of a tap on the back, and now ISRL Knight has made the move on Nip Steven. Look to be towards the bus stop chicane. Now a move on the outside almost by Nip Steven, but he gets cut off a little bit, and Nip Steven is going to go into the pit lane. He's got some front wing damage. I don't know if that was caught from ISRL Knight, but nonetheless, some damage on that Renault, and Knight now up in the P13, a little bit alone, and a little bit of some air to breathe, as that was a major battle for that position right there, and we're seeing some very close battles as well. It looks to be ISRL Lewis now back in the slipstream of Feral Fury. He's going to make a move going into here, and some double moves right now by the Williams, but he's still going to try to challenge on the inside now. That's going to be the turn. Feral Fury on the outside. Now the inside line pushes ISRL Lewis off track. ISRL Lewis has the outside line though, and he's still pushing him. They're still side by side. Major contact now as Josh 2 wants to get involved on the battle, and he is going to try to, and then ISRL Lewis cuts the door on Josh 2, and this is a major battle right now, and Feral Fury's not exactly being too pleasant with ISRL Lewis, but he is going to try to get ahead of Feral Fury. But a few occasions where Feral Fury has been a little bit too defensive. I think some double moves in the braking zone and ultimately some pushing off track from Feral Fury. ISRL Lewis might be a little bit fuming right now, but a majorly nice battle right now going on between the two of them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Lewis is just frustrated being stuck behind Feral Fury, but I don't really think Feral Fury did anything too wrong. Lewis went to the inside, Feral defended to the inside, so Lewis had to double fake back to the outside, but it was just some nice clean racing by both those drivers. But this all started for Feral Fury actually locking up into the Sills just about one lap ago from this very moment, which allowed Lewis to close the gap and really kick off this battle that we saw one lap earlier. But let's see, will they take two
and a tap from the back.
This lap?
Lewis taps the back of him, actually loses some time, and now Josh 2 might be looking to get ahead of ISRL Lewis. ISRL Lewis has fallen back a little bit from Feral Fury. Is he still going to have enough, though, with Slipstream? Now, as you can see, Feral...
Just Jer very quickly overtaking Chappelle on the down the Kimmel
and
straight.
Chappelle has a problem, but there's a safety car? What's going on? I'm not getting the safety car.
Nip Stevens that DNF'd as that's Nip Stevens Renault on the end of Sector 2, start of Sector 3 on that very quick right-hander that you can take full throttle, potentially clip that outside curb a little bit too much. Maybe he didn't take the line he was hoping for into the wall, and that's Nip Stevens' race done. And this is bringing out, it looks as if
I don't know what it is.
It's the full safety car.
I don't have a graphic on my spectator view. It's just showing the all-yellow track.
Yep, from what I can see on my little pit wall that I've got here, it looks like it is the full safety car, and I do see the safety car parked up over into that DRS detection zone that we just saw the racing point past. I believe that was End, and that just passed it there. So a bit of a breather now here on lap 6, as we can kind of I guess assess what's going on. So Sweet Crown in the lead, and surprise, surprise, it's Jer up into second, with Chappelle rounding out the top 3.
So it was not a long debut for Nip Steven. He is already out of this race, and there's now just 17 drivers on the grid, and a few drivers going to the pit lane. Sweet Crown into the pits, Jer going into pits, as you would expect them to. But actually, a few drivers who are on the medium tires are electing to pit now. So I'm not too sure why drivers on the mediums are pitting. They don't really have to. Their tires should be lasting a little bit longer to the race, especially given that they didn't have to qualify on these tires. This is a new lobby. So he's going to go into the hard tires. I think this is a little early.
Going in.
I think it's a little early for some of these drivers. I don't know why we're pitting now on the mediums. I think some drivers should just take the position and run with it, because they still will be able to go quite long on those mediums under safety car.
Yeah, but it looks like as if the whole grid opted to go on to take their pit stop under safety car. I mean, if you're on the soft tires, this is right around the window that you would take. The medium tires, maybe you can extend a little bit further. But at the same time, getting on the fresh set of tires, you've got at least, I would think, maybe another 2 laps to go under the safety car before race restarts. So that brings us to around lap 9, lap 10. So potentially, even if you were on the medium tires, pitting now, getting your pit stop done while quite literally everybody else went into the pits. And now they might be in a decent position to take these tires all the way to the end. Albeit if you're on the medium tires, it's going to take a lot of tire management. But I'm sure these Tier 1 drivers should all be at least fairly decent at managing their tires to be able to bring these to the end of the race.
Engine just came out of the pit lane. The final driver coming out of the pit lane on the medium tire. There is Gurman, who is on the medium tires right now, and I believe he made a new pit stop. He did. Isaac Cush is still coming around. He's on the soft compound tire, actually, so he pitted for another set of softs. I'm not too sure if that was exactly the smart move on the strategy call there, but we'll have to wait and see if it does work out for him. But Sweet Carol 19 nonetheless leads this Belgium Grand Prix, which is under safety car conditions right now. FRL Chappelle in second position, Jer in third. Colin has actually dropped down to fourth. Like we said on the start, did not have a good start and has dropped back a few positions. Duwill in fifth position. ISRL Lewis actually through the pit stops has gone ahead of Feral Fury, so I'm not too sure how that happened. But nonetheless, ISRL Lewis has found himself ahead of the Williams. Must have been a really nice pit stop from the McLaren group.
Yeah, either that or actually, just come to think of it, because everybody pits, so either a very nice pit stop by the McLaren crew or potentially even Feral Fury might have been held up by Sweet Carol 19, who's leading the race but also went into the pits at the same time. So depending on what the gaps were and what the window was in terms of the pit stop, that might have actually just been the difference. And Chappelle going into the pits once again, pitting from second, getting off the hard tires and potentially looking to put on those medium tires to match the rest of his competitors.
I gotta be honest with you, I think this is the wrong move here. I understand that wanting to go onto the mediums, you're going to be left out to dry a little bit, but this is a really hard, insurmountable task at this point now, actually, to do that. I think that the double guessing by Chappelle here is going to hurt him. I don't think this was the right move. He should have just stuck onto the hards and gone with the strategy. This is going to be a very tough battle to climb here. We still have a lot of fast drivers up the grid, being that it has been a very, very close qualifying. So I expect the pace is pretty relative for a lot of drivers, except maybe a few top drivers. Chappelle is one of them, but it's going to be tough, I think. I don't agree with that strategy call to go back onto medium tires.
No, neither do I, to be honest, because he was already up into second. Yes, he did have the slower tire compound, but Chappelle does have the pace. And the other thing to take into account, too, is that if you're able to keep some of these drivers behind you and force them to battle amongst themselves, that might have actually put him at an advantage, being that he was on the harder compound with the extra tire wear, because that might have played into his hand, not in the next 2 laps, but maybe within the next 10 laps or so, when all the medium tire runners are starting to feel the tire wear, and he can just keep going business as usual on that harder compound. But now, down into 15th, on the medium tires like everybody else, and is going to have to actually now overtake about 14 different drivers just to get back into the running of where he was beforehand. And I'm also looking at the grid. I think putting on the soft tires might have been a mistake for Isaac Cush, as he went into the pits once again as well, and actually opted to put on the medium tires to go with just about the rest of the grid.
We have Yarno still on the hard tire. Safety cars in this lap. And we have Josh 2 on the hard tire. So is ISRL Lewis on the hard tire. Duo, and yep. So most of the drivers on the mediums. A few drivers staying on that hard tire. We'll see how that strategy goes into effect for them. But nonetheless, we are about to get ready. So it's going to be time to see. Lewis still pitted, but took on the hard tire. So we'll have to wait and see if that is going to work out for him. But nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19 bunching up the grid right now. And it is going to be Sweet Crown, Jer, and now Colin up in the third position. So a little bit of help from that pit stop from Chappelle. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, up to the bus stop chicane. Still no go from Sweet Crown 19, still warming up his tires. He still hasn't gone just yet. We're still waiting for him to accelerate, and now he will. Safety car has ended, and we are back under racing conditions here in Spa-Francorchamps. Pit window is open now for medium runners if you started on those mediums, but everybody's on new tires at this point. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Sweet Crown 19 leading them all away. It's been a very mundane pedestrian restart so far, but it looks like there's some moves down the field, as it looks to be, yes, it looks to be Pretzels and Yarno side by side. Ooh, they might be side by side through a Rouge. No, just the overtake by Pretzels before they get up to the top of Radion. And now Yarno actually has a 3-second time penalty from multiple warnings right there, in fact. So let's go back up to the top of the order here, as the top three have started to run away a little bit. Jer actually dropping back a little bit from Sweet Crown 19, and Colin keeping close, though. As we go down the order a little bit now, we see Rotation battling with Josh 2, Alfa Romeo versus Ferrari, and we'll see how that battle gets underway as we continue on with the race. Feral Fury has had a terrible start, 1.4 seconds back from ISRL Lewis, so something happened on the restart there, but it's not in his favor because he's way far back from ISRL Lewis, who can now focus on Do Will.
Yep, so ISRL Lewis had a good start with the hard tires, can keep his focus on Do Will, especially with Feral Fury's now 1.4 second gap, and Feral Fury's going to have to watch out for Josh 2, Rotation, and Jamie 1 among everybody else. Now I do have to
there's
say,
another crash.
Gurman,
And Gurman's out of the race. Is this going to be another safety car?
It
is.
Appears like it.
It looks like
full
it.
Safety car. I was just gonna say, since you're talking about him, VR46 Yarno had a very bad start on those hard tires, and got overtaken very swiftly by ISRL Knight, and then when we caught it on stream there by ISRL Pretzels. So not the start he was hoping for. But
Jer's left the session.
Oh, so potential connection issues for Jer.
So wait a minute, Sweet Crown now is Sweet Crown stopped on track. What's going on here? He's letting by some drivers. Now, I'm not too sure what's going on here. There might be some problems. Chappelle is now retired from the session. What's happened? Chappelle is retired, and he has left. I don't know what happened there, but he's out of the session. So Sweet Crown's down to 4th. He's really down a lot of positions right now, and Lewis has a 5-second penalty now. There's some problems going on, and Rotation has a 5-second penalty. I really don't know what's going on.
I believe this was all caused by Jer disconnecting. Because I think I saw Jer was in the lead, and as he disconnected, his car was going extremely slow under the AI. So I think, as we've seen in the past, under the safety car, I think Sweet Crown slowed down to let Jer pick up the pace, maybe not realizing the disconnect, and that actually slowed everybody else down and caused all this kerfuffle. But now at the end of it, it looks like we have Colin in the lead, Do Will in second, Lewis in third, and Sweet Crown having lost 3 positions down into 4th. And potentially shouting at his race engineers, so to say, in his helmet. And now Jer leaving the session as well, as it appears as though he had some connection issues, and that actually brought him all the way down to 14th now under the safety car. So a little bit of controversy here now in the Tier 1 race around
The
Spa.
stewards in the chat are going mad right now. They are not happy. Monday's going to be a very long night. That is right. Now, I mean, what do you do about this kind of situation right now? Because you can see I'm riding on board of Lewis, who's in 3rd position right now, but he picked up a 5-second penalty for yellow flags being ignored. So are penalties like that going to be removed? I'm not too sure. But Colin is in the lead nonetheless of this race, and this has been an interesting Belgium Grand Prix, but maybe for all of the wrong reasons, in fact, as we've had some major server issues, and we do apologize for all of the technical difficulties experienced so far in this race, but nonetheless, Colin Do Will in 2nd position. He's got to be very happy about that. Lewis is on the podium, that elusive podium that he has been trying to get for a very long time. Can he get it today? The 2 Williams, 4th and 5th. The Ferraris, 6th and 9th, so they're pretty close together. And Jer is in now 13th. Did he overtake his teammate? I'm not too sure what's going on right there, because it looked like there was a position change. In fact, he did overtake his teammate. and is now letting him by. I don't know now if Jer is going to pick up a penalty for that, because the
I
game
think,
might be confused on that point.
yeah, like I think Jer may have just reconnected, thinking he can potentially work his way back up the order. Overtook VR and potentially got the warning of, you'll get a penalty if you overtake onto the safety car. Potentially letting him through from there. So Jer definitely getting the short end of the stick after that. I guess we could call it the after a glitch with the safety car, I guess we could say. But I guess for the time being, we will continue onwards as we've hit the halfway point of the race now. With already loads to talk about, and most likely loads to be reviewed after the race for the stewards.
Well, a lot of drivers, actually, a lot of drivers in ISRL are actually commenting right now. They think Sweet Crown should be let by, and you'd like to think the sportsmanship would happen in that situation, but Sweet Crown really getting screwed over under this safety car right now, down in 4th position. Now, I'm not saying he can't make up those positions, but it's still very annoying. You have to expect from a driver to go down 3 positions to no fault of your own.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not that. I mean, it's very, very unfortunate. I mean, I'm feeling really bad for Jer. I mean, Sweet Crown as well, albeit Sweet Crown was affected a little bit less. As much as it'd be fantastic, as I'm seeing, I've got the little chat open here. As much as seeing a comment, it'd be wonderful to have live stewarding on this, to be able to just tell some drivers, hey, let them through, let's get this race back up and running. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have that, but as the safety car is coming in this lap, I guess it's time to adapt and overcome in terms of the strategy and in terms of the race. And I mean, incidents like this, especially for the likes of Jer, I mean, this is where legends are made. So still 11 laps to work your way back up the grid and still work on potentially getting a decent finish.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to get underway. We're getting to the bus stop chicane, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Colin going around the final turn right there, and Duel did not get a good start. He was not very close to the Renault of Colin, and now he's going to be under pressure here from Sweet Crown 19, already pressurizing ISRL Lewis right now as he wants to get right back into those podium positions. And here we go. Safety car restart again, pretty mundane for the most part, but now there's a bit. Oh, there's somebody's had an issue. Yarno has gone down some positions
Yarno.
now.
I think Yarno was actually letting his teammate Jer by, knowing he's quicker, but went a little bit too wide on La Sauce.
And Sweet Crown into 3rd position ahead of Lewis.
Yeah, so Sweet Crown up into 3rd, so working his way back up the grid, and is going to try to probably push as hard as he can to close the gap up to Duil, and then from there push Colin to take that 1st position he so had. Jer up into 12th, working his way up, but still has to close about a 1.5 seconds before he gets up to Andon in that racing point for 11th.
So Du Will was back by 2.2 seconds. He did not get a good restart. And now Sweet Crown 19 is going to be putting a lot of pressure on the Haas driver, and he is going to be wanting to get ahead of him as soon as possible. We know he has the pace to do it, but then he's going to have to make up the time on Colin. Now, without some slipstream, that's going to be difficult. Sweet Crown 19 has picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that is a penalty for ignoring track limits and corner cutting. And that's going to be 3 seconds added onto his time. That is not what you need right now if you are going to be wanting to win a race right here. Sweet Crown 19, a very rare 3-second penalty picked up just now on lap number 12.
Yeah, definitely not something we see too often for the likes of Sweet Crown 19, and definitely not going to help him out all that much in this battle to close the gap, especially with Colin 86 showing the pace he has with already a gap of nearly 2.5 seconds. Now, Isaac Kush actually back on the softer compounded tire and just overtook Jer right before the bus stop chicane. So
And
that's Isaac Kush up into 12th and Jaren 13th.
here comes Sweet Crown 19 making the pass just about on Duwill. They're still side by side, but now he gets the position. But now Lewis is going to try to catch up to Duwill. Lewis actually had a fastest first sector on this particular lap right now, and he was very, very close to Duwill. A big lockup from Sweet Crown 19, but Duwill a little bit of compromised from trying to hang it around the outside of Sweet Crown 19, and Lewis almost capitalized with an overtake there.
Oh yeah, and that's Lewis got very, very close. Had a really nice first sector, but just wasn't able to capitalize going into sector 2, which is a very difficult place to overtake, as we're seeing. But Lewis doing a good job of staying right behind Duwill and putting himself into a very good position to potentially get that overtake done in sector 3. By the time they get to the bus stop chicane. But through all of this, the gap between first and second is still growing, up to nearly 3 seconds now between Colin and Sweet Crown. So we'll have to see if Sweet Crown 19 can close that gap and put the pressure on Colin for the lead of the race.
The big thing for him is he's just, DRS isn't able now, but he is just getting out of the DRS range from Duo. That is the key part here. He cannot be kept up in that pack. And Lewis really outbroke himself there. In fact, locked up his brakes and almost went into the back of Duwill. But here, I'm riding on board of Lewis. He's very close to Duwill, and we may see another side-by-side battle coming up from the McLaren driver right here. An amazing run through Erouge and Radion. He's going to have DRS and now ERS enabled. Can he catch up to Duwill? He's not using any... Well, I don't think he can now, because for some reason, he's not in the slipstream of the Haas car. In fact, I guess he didn't think he can make the overtake, but nonetheless, he stays in 4th position. Some interesting positioning on track for him.
Yep, and Isaac Kush really making those soft tires work for him a little bit elsewhere on the track, as he actually overtakes Endon. They go up into 11th. So not a bad recovery drive from Isaac Kush on the safety car restart. And it looks like that decision to go on the soft tires is working well for him, at least early on, as he's been able to get some
there's a spin! The Ferrari of Sophion has had a spin, and he's off track, and he comes back on track. Oh, this is going to be close! Oh, my goodness! He almost hit Pretzels right there, and that could have been very, very bad for Pretzels and Sophion. That was very close, but he just escaped that.
Yeah, that was extremely close, and as we saw, that that long, quick left-hander around Puan, I think they call it, showing its teeth here. As I've actually got Jaren and Andon going side by side now through sector 3. So who's going to get the better of who as they come through the bus stop chicane? Jared's on the outside, turns into the inside, and Jared does get that move done on Andon, who had to go a little bit wide on the exit of the bus stop down the start-finish straight.
But nonetheless, now Lewis has another chance here, 4 tenths behind Duwill, and he is going to have a better, not really a better run actually on this current lap, but he is going to try to catch up to Duwill now, going to actually get in the slipstream this time of the Haas driver and make up some time, but ultimately it's not going to be an overtake. But Feral Fury is under pressure from rotation. Isaac Kush makes a move on ISRL Knight up into 9th position now. Into the top 10 he goes. And this is... Ooh.
Oh, go on ahead.
I was going to say something. I don't even know what I was going to say. Knight has a 3-second penalty. That's what I'm going to say. Now falling down to you.
Yep, I was just gonna say I'm looking at I'm keeping an eye out on this battle here, or at least in terms of Jared trying to work his way back up the grid after the incident, and I feel as if not necessarily on the pace as much as he was potentially earlier on, struggling to get past some of these cars here around Spa, as he's stuck behind Endon, sitting in 12th, and just looking at the gaps now. Might want to start getting a move on sooner rather than later if he wants any chance of working his way back up the grid into a bit of a higher points playing position. Probably want to stick more with Isaac Kush, since they were both together right on the safety car restart, but Isaac's just had so much more progress. And
here comes Jer again, back in the slipstream, has some DRS deploy. Oh, I believe he had DRS wave. There's no DRS straight there. Never mind. forget what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, but nonetheless, Daryl have DRS on this straight, this DRS straight, and he is going to open it right now. He's not going to be using any overtake. Is he going to have to use it, though? Is he going to make an overtake on this occasion? No, he will stay behind Endon and then use the slipstream of a Rouge, Radion, and the Camel straight to make the overtake. I'm going to ride on board with Lewis. He is very, very close to Duel this time, about 2/10 back, and now he has DRS. Is he going to use any ERS on him? No, he is staying behind Duel. A little bit of a more cautious ISRL Lewis, and I say that now, and he tapped the back of Duel, and I don't know why he decided to brake so late unless he was going to try to make an overtake, but he didn't do either of those things, and it almost ended up in some damage on the wing.
Yep, and Jer finally able to get past Andin, so he can move on with his race, as now he's got about a 1.5 second gap to close up the ISRL Knight to get into the top 10. But he's doing a good job closing the gap now to Jamie 1, who's sort of stuck behind Josh 2 in this whole gaggle of cars that seem to be stuck all behind Do Will. But still, Colin 86 off the safety car restart. Nobody's been able to touch him. Nobody's gotten anywhere near him. And this gap is up to a 5-second gap to Sweet Crown 19, who's sitting decently comfortably in second.
So 5.1 seconds is that gap. Sweet Crown 19 has actually lost time to Colin on this start. So just so we remember things, Sweet Crown has a 3-second time penalty sitting on him. He has to make up more time on Duel than this right now, because Duel may overtake Sweet Crown 19 on penalties alone. Now, we got to talk about it, though, after the race, because there's going to be a lot of talk in the steward's room regarding what has happened during this race, because we've had a lot of mess. But nonetheless, Duel right now in a good position possibly to pick up P2 if he stays where he is right now, and granted he doesn't pick up any more penalties. Sweet Crown 19 with a rare 3-second time penalty under his hands, and look at this, we see URC rotation going on the inside of Feral Fury, it looks like just about, and they're going side by side, and Feral Fury gets the move still and stays ahead of Rotation. Rotation will now try to challenge back in the, and going to try to look on the inside. Now Lewis is looking to make a move on Duel as he wants to get back into the podium positions. He's gained a lot of time on Duel, initially losing it for a little bit.
Yep, and I'm watching as Rotation once again looking to go down the inside, but just didn't have enough clearance there on Feral Fury. But that was a nice attempt of a move by Rotation, but just being alert, seeing that into that left-right hand chicane after the Keble straight, trying to go too wide into that turn doesn't really end all that great. So probably did the smart move of backing out and keeping that gap with the next lap.
Oh, Knight's had a problem, and Knight's had a spin, and he's down in 13th. A spin for Knight. Does he have damage on the car? He seems to be okay, but the tires definitely might be a little bit cooked right now. But Knight has had a problem, and he is all the way down in 13th and has had a spin. He will score points today in this race as we have only 15 runners left. And now pit from Colin. Colin has a pit stop? What?
Well, I was just about to mention this. As you had mentioned with in terms of Knight taking effect, I mentioned at this first safety car. These medium tires, they're right around 10 laps old now. So this is the big question of, will these tires last the last 4 laps or so to the end, or will these drivers on the medium tires need to get on to potentially a pair of soft tires till the end of the race? Because this is where we're going to start seeing these medium tires start to fall off a little bit for some of these drivers.
I don't know.
Interesting, I think.
I don't know what the wear is on these tires right now. Like, I mean, I can't tell you that, but I don't know. That's a very late pit stop. You can't. You have no idea if drivers are going to make that late of pit stop. I don't generally see that from drivers. I think Colin, if no pit stops happen, then this obviously is the biggest blunder we've seen in a very long time.
Oh yeah.
But I'd like to see now. Lewis has hard tires on. Duel and Sweet Crown do not. Do they pit? Do they react? Or does Lewis go into the lead of this race? But he's in the podium positions right now. Feral Fury behind him on medium tires as well. Lewis might be in the best position right now if we see more drivers pit, which I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think it's just too late. I think Colin has made a little bit of a jerk reaction, and he, in fact, has picked up a 3-second time penalty to compound that.
Yeah, and that's I feel as if the pit was a little bit late. Of course, if Sweet Crown and Do will pit, he's gonna look amazing. But I really don't think that anybody else is gonna pit now this late in the race. As I'm actually watching Colin going side by side with Andon here, going through the bus stop chicane. So Colin definitely having some pace on the soft tires, but I do think it might be a little bit too little, too late, given everybody else is actually staying out. But I know it just in my experience with my practice with my racing, the medium tires really only lasted 10 to 12 laps. Before really starting to fall off.
Oh, look at
So
this.
this is
Side by
where,
side was a little bit, URC Rotation and Feral
yeah.
Fury, and he's still right behind him. Feral Fury actually was with the one of DRS, and look at
Oh,
this.
there's
Side
two
by
by
side
two.
is Lewis and Do Will. What a battle right now, side by side on the inside of the hard tire. And ISRL Lewis up into second position. Now, granted, he does have penalties. We'll see how this keeps the position going, but Lewis has a great move and puts himself up in the P2.
Oh yeah, and this now closed the gap right up for P2, P3, P4, and P5, all basically one behind another. And now even Jamie 1 in the Mercedes and Josh 2 in that Ferrari all getting involved into this battle too. So it's all going off now in the last 3 laps. And it seems like it's still anybody's position to play for, from second all the way down to basically 7th and 8th now, with Isaac Kush now getting involved into this battle.
So the tires are 11 laps old, about to get onto lap 12 for Sweet Crown 19. That is expected how long they last. How long can Sweet Crown actually make them last? I don't know for sure, but Sweet Crown 19 is about to go on to lap number 12 on these tires, but he still has 2 more laps to go in this race. Sweet Crown is going to go till the end, but is it enough? And he's locking up all over the place. I don't really know how hard those tires don't look too worn, in my opinion. On the graphic here, they don't look too bad, actually.
No, well, I mean, they might not look too bad. So I just watched Isaac Kush make a move on Josh 2 to go up into 7th. So it's hard to say. I know Sweet Crown normally is very good with the tire wear, and he's got a lot of clean air and a bit of a gap to second that he can use to manage those tires. So he might be
and
okay.
Rotation on the inside makes a move on Feral Fury, a big lockup overtake, and that was an amazing move. And Rotation up in the 4th position.
Yep, and I was just thinking Do Will, Rotation, Feral Fury, and Jamie 1 all on the medium tires and all basically battling through this entire stint. They might be the ones feeling the tire wear, and they might be the drivers where we might start seeing some mistakes over the next 2 laps if they're not careful with how they manage their last few laps of the race.
Lewis has picked up some penalties. I'm not exactly sure how many penalties he has at the moment, but he has to be careful because he could land up in trouble and drop down the order. We've seen a lot of times Lewis in the podium positions, but has dropped back due to the penalties. I don't know what the situation is for Duel. If you can look that up real quick, and we can see what we have going on right now for Lewis, where he is going to be after the position he is at the moment. Lewis has another 3-second time penalty. This is not good for Lewis if he wants to keep in this podium position. Unless the other drivers pick up serious penalties, I think Lewis will be dropping back a little bit.
Yep, I'm already seeing at least 3 for Lewis as I'm going down. Just trying to keep an eye out for these for all these penalties. Up to 6. Oh, and a 5-second for ignoring yellow flag on lap 10. So lots of penalties to come into play here for Lewis before the end of the race. So with how small the gaps are from second all the way down to 12th now, we might see Lewis fall way down the order after all these penalties get sorted out. Josh 2 trying to make a move down the outside of Isaac Kush. But is going to have to stay behind that the McLaren car for potentially another lap or less, depending on how daring he is.
You can see Isaac Kush's tires are really, really struggling. A lot of graining on the inside there. You can see where much of the load is happening on the tires. But Isaac Kush, under pressure from Josh 2 on the hard tires, who is really struggling. You can see the line also starting to form. Sweet Crown 19, though, is on the medium tires, and they look okay, actually. So as Sweet Crown 19 has been very good in managing these tires. It's 2.5 seconds the gap right now, so he is actually losing time with ISRL Lewis. Du Will is dropping back now about 1.8 seconds. Again, penalties do have to come into effect, and I'm sure Lewis is definitely going to be dropping out of the podium position and may even be dropping down towards near the bottom of the top 10, given how little the positions are right now. Jer is going to make a move, though, on the inside of Josh 2 at the bus stop chicane and makes a move. And look at this, Colin with a move. What a move on the final lap it's about to be now, and he gets up into 9th position. What a move. But you gotta say with Colin, is this a mistake? Did he just get a little bit too frightened of a possible puncture at the end, given that all the tires were about the same length and time of lifespan? Colin, really a bit of a blunder right now, given if, in fact, Sweet Crown gets till the end here. We still have a bit of a lap to go, but this has really not been the strategy call that Colin would like to be making. Now URC Rotation makes a move on the inside and gets ahead of Du Will up into 3rd position.
Yep, that was a nice move down the Camel Straight by URC Rotation. But back to what you were saying there, definitely a bit of an early call from Colin, and that definitely negatively affected his race, as he's put on a valiant effort. As that's Knight that DNFs on the last lap. So not what he was hoping for, as he had less of a lap to go before scoring points.
Jer's had dropped back. Jer's had a crash. He's had a big crash, and he spins back on track, and if ghosting wasn't on, that could have been a major. Knight is out of the race. Knight's had a crash. At the end of the final lap, Knight is out of this race, and Sweet Crown 19 is coming around the final few turns. Some final lap problems. Both Jer and Knight, the Red Bull drivers in general, not having a good final lap, and Knight must be livid with that final lap crash. Here comes Sweet Crown 19. He is going to win the Belgium Grand Prix on track. Lewis will come home in 2nd, but he is going to be dropping back the order down to 3rd, down to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and now I think he might get saved. And look at this, side by side to the end, and now Lewis finishes in 10th on the grid after the penalties. Du Will picks up a podium. Feral Fury finishes on the podium. Colin moves up to 5th after penalties. But that was an amazing Belgium Grand Prix. A final lap problem, though, for Jer, and he goes all the way down to 12th position. Knight doesn't even finish the race, crashing on the final lap.
Yep, definitely not. I mean, it was a very exciting race, and had a little bit of everything from some excitement, some incidents, some nice overtakes, some controversy. But through all of that, it's still a familiar name that's going to be at the top step of the podium in Sweet Crown 19.
And a familiar Crimson Chin back on the podium.
Yeah, but another strong race from Du Will, who has come into Tier 1 and has shown basically right from the get-go that he has the pace, he wants to compete, and he can compete for wins. And that's another strong showing from him. And Feral Fury taking that last podium position, albeit on penalties, but hey, a podium's a podium, and that's it was a strong race from Feral Fury, and a very strong points finish for the William team once again this week.
So Sweet Crown 19 wins it, and gets the driver of the day after a qualifying ban left him plumb last, but a few crashes in this race have helped him get into some better positions, and walking out like an Egyptian is the Crimson Chin avatar of Michael Schumacher. I'm not even going to tell you how upset I am for it, but nonetheless, Sweet Crown wins it. Du Will with another podium. Du is just having an absolutely amazing season. My dad's watching the stream probably right now. He's a Haas fan. He really wishes this is how Haas was doing in real life, but that's not the case at all whatsoever. But Feral Fury picking up a podium. The Williams drivers both on the podium, so a big haul of points in the constructors standings there. And here is your classifications. It's Sweet Crown winning the race, Duo in second, third for Feral Fury, 4 for Jamie and Colin in 5th position, 6 for Josh 2, Isaac Cushion 7th, URC Rotation in 8th, 9th for Andon, Lewis in P10. And the rest of the grid order, it's Yarno in 11th, 12th for Jer, ISRL Pretzels in 13th, 14th for Sophion, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th are all out of the race, and that are Knight, Chappelle, Gurman, and Nip Steven. And, oh, you know what? I think what happened with Chappelle was supposed to, he mentioned in the chat he was supposed to work at 5. I don't know if that's because he couldn't finish the race. That would be unfortunate if that was the case, but I got yelled at last time for not, well, I didn't really get yelled at, but I got complained at for not scrolling down and looking at the order. But nonetheless, I've done it this time so we can actually do the standings a little bit easier. But that was the Belgium Grand Prix. Now, do you know how to do interviews yet?
Yeah, we should be able to do because I can get them into the party. So
Okay.
there shouldn't be an issue with that. I'm just getting some invites sent off right now. So hopefully that got all 3 invites out.
Thanks for telling me I received 900 Bitcoins again. You know, I've received the same 900 Bitcoins this season, all season. So I'm glad to see that. Let's go into the showroom, though, and I'll get the Williams up there. And I'm assuming that Sweet Crown's not going to join because he hasn't joined a single post-race interview room ever. But we'll wait and see.
No, I sent him the invite just in case he decides
we'll
to join
hope
this
at
time
some
around,
point.
I'm not holding out.
We're
the
not
hope for
holding
that.
out. We hope at some point our championship leader will give us the drama we'd actually like to see, but it's not happening right now.
And he can just join and say "bois." That's all I need.
It's nonetheless.
Yeah, it seems like as if the podium winners are just so happy to be celebrating on the podium. No time for the interviews. At least
No time for the interviews.
See
so
what the time being.
Nonetheless,
no one's joining.
no one's joining. So I you know what? I'm not waiting too much longer. So nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that was ISRL Esports, and that was Tier 1 action at the Belgium Grand Prix. Round number 13 has come to a close. Sweet Crown, your winner, and it's Duo in second, and it is Feral Fury in third position. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to leave a like on the live stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell for more action. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and like the Facebook page so you never miss any of the posts and action from ISRL Esports. Are you a big fan of ISRL Esports? Do you want to join in on the action? Make sure to go to ISRLesports.com and go on to our Discord page and get yourself into the league. And if you're enjoying the content even more, if you're a racer yourself, in fact, get merched up. ISRL merch is live now on IMB Racewear. You can go to IMBRacewear.com and you can order yourself a jersey or hoodie and a few other items actually on the ISRL Esports collection from IMB Racewear. Again, that's IMBRacewear.com, IMB, and you can order yourself a jersey or hoodie. And if you're a driver, you can even get your own number and name on the back and really deck yourself out in the newest line from IMB Racewear. If you're interested in any of their other products, you can go on to IMBRacewear.com and check them out. I have a jacket myself I'm very happy with. It's an awesome company with awesome products and some super high quality clothing and other items. So nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, my name is ISRLX. You were joined today by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth, and I am going to see you guys next week for the next race in the championship. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful night.